with Chief Christensen, Chief Seaford, Spring, Captain Lawhorn, and look, what began as a fun family day has turned into very much a nightmare for many families. And thankfully, we had a very efficient, very quick, extremely coordinated response. Over 47 pieces of equipment, multiple agencies all here together thanks to these incredible first responders. And so I do want to thank each and every one of the folks behind me and all the men and women that have been here from various agencies to help keep these families safe. Just briefly, what we know. A few hours ago, there was in the area around the kiddie pool in this water park. A lifeguard was sick, and soon after that, more and more people began becoming sick. Children were walking out of the pool with respiratory issues, and eventually it became very clear that there was something either in the environment or the water that was making these children sick, these families sick. From what we know, it was respiratory issues, not a whole lot of external impacts, but we did have around 60 people that were affected. Very quickly, folks came together from the Fire Marshal's office, from the Harris County Pollution Control Department, from the Harris County Public Health Department, and of course the Spring Fire Department. And they took samples of the water and they took samples of the air to try to see what it was that was causing this issue. Every sample that they took was within the acceptable limits. But obviously we had evidence from these folks being sick that something was wrong. Lots of ambulances here. We had about 36 people go to sign forms to say that they felt okay enough to walk away, but over 20 folks transported to all kinds of different hospitals. 15 people were transported via ambulance bus to Memorial Hermann downtown. We had one pregnant woman who was believed to be in labor who was also transported, and a child was the most serious case. He was transported to Texas, or she to Texas Children's. Now we know that this child is stable, so that is good news. This child that is now stable was the gravest situation, and everybody else was in a less urgent position. But we were working here across all of these agencies, also decontaminating folks who had gone to the hospital, coming back to get hosed down, decontaminated, and most people were feeling better afterwards. We're working together, particularly the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office and the Harris County Public Health Department, to ensure that this facility is safe before it operates again. Their current procedures very clearly cannot adequately ensure health and safety. The technology that they have in place is not allowing them to do that. The different departments have been verifying the technology of the water park, and they don't find any readings that are off. So if you can have 60 plus people get sick and your system doesn't catch what is off with the chemicals or whatever it is, then clearly something is wrong with the system. Under the Texas Government Code Section 341, Harris County Public Health has the authority to close these facilities, and so we are closing them until further notice. We have issued a closure order. Harris County Fire Marshal's Office has also issued a stop work order, and the facility has agreed, they have not objected. Now I have directed the Fire Marshal's Office and the Public Health Department to ensure that the facility is in compliance with all laws before they allow them to open again, and we hope that the regulatory framework is strong enough that they can't reopen without having improved their systems so that this doesn't happen again. So you will be sure we'll be pursuing this to the fullest extent of the regulatory framework. We don't know yet what exactly went wrong or what exactly the limitations are of the regulatory framework. Now, a message for the community that has been impacted. If you are at the water park, if you are feeling sick, please make sure you seek medical attention. If you feel sick, call 911. If you find yourself in the emergency room, please, as soon as you walk in, let them know that you were here. Do not sit in the waiting room with other folks, because we don't know yet exactly what chemical, what caused these illnesses, and so we don't want to expose other folks to that. So be sure to let them know. They will decontaminate anybody who's been contaminated by this incident. But so far, besides these respiratory issues and a couple of folks that were more affected, it seems generally that the situation is under control from a health perspective. So I'll give an opportunity to Chief Seifert here to give an update, then Chief Christensen, and we'll all be available for questions. Actually, briefly in Spanish, let me repeat my remarks. Lo que empezó como un día de diversión aquí en este parque acuático terminó siendo realmente un día de tragedia para muchas familias. Hace unas cuantas horas en el área de la piscina de niños pequeños, un salvavidas se enfermó. Después de eso más y más personas se empezaron a enfermar, más que nada temas respiratorios, y en ese momento todas estas agencias, el Departamento de Bomberos de Spring, del Condado Harris, nuestro Departamento de Salud Pública, de Control de Contaminación, todos llegaron a medir la condición del aire, la condición del agua en el parque acuático, y nunca encontraron evidencia de un químico fuera del lugar. Eso sí, sabemos obviamente que algo sucedió problemático, ya que hasta alrededor de 60 personas, incluyendo niños, terminaron enfermos. Entonces, eso es lo que estamos investigando en este momento. Le agradezco a todas estas agencias que respondieron de una manera eficaz, de una manera rápida, trabajaron muy bien todos juntos, pero hemos visto más de 26 pacientes a varios hospitales, 15 que fueron transportados vía ambulancia, autobús a Memorial Hermann, una mujer que pareciera que estaba embarazada y pareciera estar en este momento a dar a luz, también fue transportada a un hospital, y un niño o niña, un menor de edad, bastante crítica la condición, se le llevó al hospital de Texas Children en Woodlands, y ya me acaban de decir que su condición es estable. Entonces esas son pues buenas noticias, pero hubieron alrededor de 60 personas que tuvimos que evaluar, que tuvimos que asegurarnos que estuvieran decontaminados del químico, lo que sea que sucedió aquí. Ahora he dirigido al Departamento de Salud Pública y al Departamento de Bomberos del Condado Harris a que trabajen juntos para asegurarse que haya transparencia y que se resuelva esta situación. Los procedimientos de este parque acuático no pueden asegurar la seguridad de la salud pública en el Condado Harris en este momento. Su tecnología no les permite hacerlo. ¿Por qué? Porque su sistema no marcó nada fuera de lugar. Entonces, si tienen un sistema bajo el cual se enferman 60 personas y el sistema no suena ninguna alarma, sabemos que hay algo que no está funcionando adecuadamente. No sabemos exactamente qué es en este momento. El parque acuático no puso ninguna objeción, pero bajo el Código Gubernamental de Texas tenemos la autoridad, y le he pedido al Departamento de Salud Pública que cierre este parque acuático por ahora. También el Departamento de Bomberos ha ordenado que se detenga el trabajo, la actividad en este parque acuático, y estarán trabajando hasta donde alcance la ley para asegurarse que no vuelva a abrir hasta que no hayan sistemas de seguridad para que esto no vuelva a suceder. No conocemos el marco regulatorio, esperamos que el marco regulatorio permita que no puedan volver a abrir sin haber solucionado el problema. Si usted estuvo aquí, ha sido afectado, se siente enfermo, llame al 911, vaya a la sala de emergencias, pero por favor, si va a la sala de emergencias, infórmeles que estuvo en este parque acuático. ¿Por qué? Porque puede tener un químico y no queremos que contamine a la demás gente en la sala de esperas. Entonces, muchas gracias a todos los trabajadores de emergencia. We'll now hear from Chief Seifert with Spring Fire Department.
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon. Several hours ago, we were dispatched to the Splashtown Park, and a normal Saturday turned out a lot differently. With the patients that were brought to us, we decontaminated well over 60 people with our ladder truck. we went ahead and made them all walk through there, and then they were analyzed by Cypress Creek EMS. We also had help from Clam Fire Department as well as Montgomery County Hospital District. We actually had about 39 refusals. Those are people who refused to go to the hospital. We had well over 25 transports, and we also used the Atascocita ambulance bus, which is able to carry about 20 patients, and those patients were taken to Memorial Hermann. We also had a lady who appeared to be in labor as well. So we did our job. We're going to work with the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office in the next few days to make sure that the park is safe before it reopens. That's all I have for now.
Hi, Laurie Christensen, Harris County Fire Marshal, and I would like to reiterate what the judge said. This was an outstanding collaboration of efforts. Everything worked as it should. We worked very closely with our fire departments, our EMS, our law enforcement, our Office of Emergency Management. When this call came in, we have over 50 pieces of equipment here. Almost 100 people were here to assist, and our office will be working very closely, not only with pollution control, public health, the Spring Fire Department will be working with the judge's office, commissioner's offices, to ensure that everything is looked at, understood before this property opens back up. I will say they've been cooperative. They are working with our investigators and our inspections team, and for specific questions, I can have my captain speak up, but I'll let the judge take questions.
Chief, I know that you guys are still investigating what chemical this is, but how are you treating them in terms of, are you treating this like a chlorine, or what type of chemical are you treating it as?
So just recently we learned that the chemical combination was about 35% sulfuric acid and 10 to 13% bleach. And that's all we have at this time. Things are still being investigated right now by the Fire Marshal's Office.
What percentage of bleach did you say?
10 to 13%.
So you know the chemical that leaked in the pool was some sort of composition that had 10 to 13% bleach?
Well, yes. I'll let you speak to one of the Hazmat officers that was here on scene. He's got better details on that. Okay.
Captain Richard Lawhorn with the Harris County Hazardous Materials team. So we came in to assist Spring Fire Department. Our goal was to make sure that the chemical was still not active as soon as we arrived on location, to make sure that the conditions weren't getting any worse, and then to assist the facility in making sure that whatever caused the problem was secured and in for the most part a controlled system. So as Chief Seifert said, they inject, without getting too elaborate, it's on a pH balanced system where 7 is what they consider safe. So they try to keep it around that 7 mark, and so they have a system that balances different chemicals that allows it to keep at that 7. So we're looking at that system, and we did go back behind the facility. They pH'd the water as soon as they heard that there was a problem, and so our hazmat team went in, and we just kind of took double sampling, if you will, to make sure that what they were reading were good readings. So that's a mixture of sulfuric acid and bleach. So the way these go in, they go in separately, and they're injected into the water as the water circulates through the system, and so you would not anybody in the pool would not get hit by a slug of chemical, if you will. I did talk to the maintenance personnel on site, and they did say that if they did have a problem where the pH, let's say, was at 8 or it was at 6 where it was a low pH, they would pull everybody out of the pool. That was their normal procedure. So again,
you guys heard me if I'm wrong, but just to be clear, so when they got here and they took, the facility took a sample and the fire marshal's office took a sample, and both samples came out at 7. So that just tells us by the time the sample was taken, the situation, at least from what could be measured, wasn't showing anything off. So that's why we don't know exactly what happened prior that made people sick. Now, generally, you would log this, right? The facility would log at intervals. You would think, hey, what was it at a certain interval, so we can go back and check. But that log either doesn't exist or hasn't been found, and so that's what we want to make sure. And they're working to figure out exactly, and that's why they're not saying exactly what chemical it was, because it's not clear right now. But something obviously went wrong, and they should what it would stand to reason, have systems in place where the minute there's something wrong, the system can record that. So that's what is, we need to see if under the regulatory framework we can ensure that that's in place before they open again.
I wanted to clarify the number of people that were transported to the hospital.
Yes. Do you guys want to clarify the number of people?
Yep.
No.
There were a total of 26 transported and 39 people who refused transport.
Can you walk us through the process of what it takes to contaminate someone? How long is it walking through water? Do you have to spend a certain amount of time there? Walk us through that process.
Yeah, so what we do is we set up our ladder truck that has a nozzle on the end. We point it straight down about 15 feet above where the people will walk through, and they walk through there and they basically massage their eyes and things like that to get any chemicals out of their eyes if they're affected. And then after a period of time, they'll walk through it and walk out.
No soap or anything like that?
No soap or nothing like that.
How well were some of these patients? Just most child. What kind of symptoms was this child?
Most of the patients that we saw during the time, in the beginning, were all respiratory distress, a little hard to breathe, things of that sort. We didn't see anyone with chemical burns or anything like that, just respiratory issues.
There was people in one woman that said that her skin was burning, and she was just being cooled.
Yeah. And I may not be privy to that information.
Is that possible?
It's depending on the amount of chemical, it is possible.
You said a percentage of.
They were responsible for inspections of the park or any records or things on when the last inspection was.
I'll turn it over to Chief Christian.
Hi, thank you. You asked the last inspection this park had? Yes, ma'am. It was June 29th of 2021. So we were just out here at this location. In addition, the fire code now requires operational permits. They have been working with our office, submitting their paperwork for this year's operational permit. So it was just inspected, board's life safety plan and those things. Yes, ma'am.
Do you guys also inspect whatever tools they use to balance the levels of the water?
No, ma'am, that would not be us, and I will let the judge talk about what she talked to public health about.
Good afternoon. I'm Scott Johnson, the Compliance and Environmental Programs Manager for Harris County Public Health. And yes, we are the agency that comes out and actually does the inspections on the facility. We permit the facility. The facility was last inspected at the end of April this year. We do routine and permit inspections here, and we have our investigation team in the back right now with the facilities maintenance group going over all of the equipment, the pumps, the chemicals, etc., reviewing any chemical logs or anything like that to see if there were any errors and try to figure out exactly what's going on.
So to be clear, you guys do an inspection and you guys do a separate inspection? You said end of April, she said.
It's different kinds of inspections.
Yes.
From a fire marshal standpoint, it's the fire and life safety inspection that we do for commercial occupancies.
Yeah, and we're doing the health and safety inspections for the actual pool facility. So Harris County Public Health inspects and permits, regulates commercial pools, places like this, HOAs, apartment complexes, etc.
Did you all ask anyone from the park to attend this press conference?
I don't know. I don't know if anybody else did. I will tell you that they have been cooperative. When public health issued the closure order, they did not object. And as I said, the fire marshal's office, the pollution control department, the public health department, they will work together to see what the extent of the law gives us to make sure that this is as safe a facility as it can be before it opens again. But yeah, they've been cooperative. They've been sharing their logs, but obviously it's an extremely concerning situation, and particularly that, as far as we can tell, there has been no log of what exactly went wrong. But we're continuing to investigate. Yeah.
How many people were here? They just worked with this with the judge.
I think you haven't had a chance to ask the question. Yeah. So there was a young child. I can't confirm if it was a boy or a girl. It was respiratory issues, and there's degrees of that, right? So there was some folks that, it's always scary to have a respiratory issue, but some folks, when they were decontaminated, they felt good. They felt fine. They felt fine going home. Other folks were under a condition that was severe enough that they needed EMS attention, but they didn't need to be rushed by ambulance. And then there was this child that was in a severe enough condition that they had to be rushed via ambulance to Texas Children's in the Woodlands, but they're now in a stable condition. So
How old
that's
is
good.
that child?
Do you guys have the details?
3 years old.
3 years old.
So that's good. But
Yeah,
how many
yeah.
people were at the park? Just kind of on a personal level, how's it making sure that happens?
Yeah, look, we've been through so much as a community over the past year and a half, and so many people, they're vaccinated, they feel comfortable going to a water park, they're just enjoying themselves, and suddenly, not only in the water park, but in the kiddie pool, you have this kind of situation, and it just reminds you of the importance of responsible corporate partners, right? And so I'm grateful that the facility is being cooperative, but I think everybody needs to be very, very, very thoughtful, anyone that interacts with the public, about making sure that you're being careful, that you're taking that responsibility seriously. All of our first responder partners did their job incredibly well, and my heart really goes out to the families affected, because I know they were just trying to have a day of fun, a beautiful sunshine after a rainy couple of weeks, and it's very sad, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we're holding these folks accountable. Thank you.